Yeah, this whole story started back my with my youngest son. Um, and I guess he was about, I don't know, a year and a half, 18 months, 2 years old at the time. And we were having dinner one night. And yeah, I mean, he was just getting to where he could talk, he could carry on somewhat of a conversation with real people. And anyway, we were having dinner one night. We were sitting at the dinner table, and it was not a special dinner by any means. It was, if I remember correctly, it was like we were having fried chicken and green beans, mashed potatoes, just a dinner, nothing out of the ordinary. And we had just sat down at the table and started eating, and he looked across to my wife and I, and and he said, "We didn't eat this with my other parents." Now, you can imagine the the feeling that you get. It's like a cold chill down your spine. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. And we go, "What do you mean, your other parents?" And he says, "Yeah, my other mommy and daddy that I had before you, we didn't eat this." Okay. Uh, what other mommy and daddy? And he goes, "The mommy and daddy I had before you." And we were just like really freaking out right now, but trying to keep it cool because we weren't quite sure how to handle what was going on. And we said, "Well, who were these other mommy and daddy?" He said they were mommy and daddy. He said they looked like I did. They had dark hair and like I do, and they had dark eyes like I do, and we didn't eat this. We ate other stuff. We were like, "Okay, that's fine. That's cool. And now we're getting really curious, and we asked him, "Did you live in a house or an apartment or something like that?" He said, "Oh no, we had a house. We had a house. We had a car. It was a blue car." And keep in mind, this is from a kid that's you know 18 to 24 months old. Where is he getting this from? Where is this coming from? You know, the kid watches nothing on TV but Sesame Street. First off, so we knew it didn't come. It wasn't coming from there, but we were really freaking out as to where this is coming from. Where are you getting this from? And he kept telling us it was his other parents. And we said, "Well, where's your other parents now?" Now, keep in mind, this is from the mind of a child that has no concept of death, of life and death at this point in time in his life. He's never experienced that. And he turned to my wife and I and looked right at us and said, "Well, they died." And we were like, "Well, what happened? How did they die?" And he said, "Well, we were all in a car wreck and we died." I to this day, I can't explain to you what that felt like. And he would come up with these stories about how they went to the beach and they went to the park and they had a dog, a white dog, and which was funny in that years later we had taken my son down to pick out a dog, and he could have his pick of any dog he wanted in the whole rescue, and he picked a little white dog. And it just kept, it boggled us forever. And he would always talk to JoJo. And we could never figure out who JoJo was. But he would be in a room talking, and we walk in, and said, well, who are you talking to? He said, I'm talking to JoJo. Again, we never could figure out who JoJo was. But we honestly believe that there was a connection there between the past and the future, and that our son was indeed our son, but he had also belonged to someone else. Now, granted, he's grown up since then. Those memories have faded, and he doesn't remember anything about that, anymore. But still, the impression that gives you is one that, I don't know, you just don't shake. You don't forget about that. And that is the premise of this episode. Kids who have lived in past lives. And we're going to go over some noted stories that have been out there for a while, and claims and accusations. And I'm going to bring you one from one of our listeners, one of our followers, that has experienced something really extraordinary in her child. So stay tuned, guys. This is some interesting stuff right here. One and good evening, and welcome to another episode of Transcending Veils. I am your host, D.E. Riley, and this is my beautiful and talented co-host, Audra Moon, taking a bow over here, looking as lovely as usual. All right. Hey, Audra, how you doing tonight, kiddo?
I am surviving.
You are so fine. Okay. That's a great answer because, well, you are. We are discussing something tonight that hits very close to home. If you noticed at the very beginning, before we started talking, excuse me, I'm fighting allergies right now. So if I cough now and then, please excuse me. There was a video that I played at the beginning of my personal experience about what we're talking about tonight, which is past lives of children. I experienced it firsthand with my youngest son. It was nothing short of terrifying when it happened, but we got used to it. We got over it. We got through it, and we started looking at the different causes and things that would affect this and cause a child to do this. It's an interesting phenomenon. There is an endless supply of cases out there. Go to YouTube and type this in, children's past lives, and see what you get. It just goes on and on and on. So you've heard about mine because I just played it on the recording. Audra has heard the story already. And it's interesting because it seems like there's just so many different takes on this. So many different views on this, whether it be from a religious standpoint, a theological standpoint, or a cultural standpoint, whatever, everybody's, or even a scientifical, is that even a word? Is scientifical a word? It is now?
We're making it a word.
Okay, it's now a word. Scientifical is now a word. But we're gonna talk about what could possibly cause this, where it could possibly come from, and I'm also going to share a story from one of our followers on one of our social media platforms, who also has an extremely interesting and very touching and heartfelt story about her son. Um, anyway, Audrey, you've had a chance to see some of these. What is your take on some of this?
You know, see, the thing is it's so interesting because of how common it is as far as children reporting past lives or past life memories. Um, people think it's just this crazy phenomena that, exactly.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Listen, my brain was already there. People think it's this phenomena that's, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's few and far between. But in reality, there are so many accounts of it. And, people talk about how it is, people bring in religion and talk about how it's, you know, reincarnation with Christianity, or they talk about, just the fact of reincarnation existing, never mind religious standpoints. It really makes you wonder, because I've, aside from children, which it makes sense with children because they're fresh, they're new into this world, that's the whole premises of this, is they haven't lost those past life memories yet. But you even have adults who look into past lives, and they even have a form of meditation, which is past life regression, to try and figure out what you were back in, a past life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's certainly things when it comes to children where they know things where they know things they shouldn't.
Right.
They know things that no child of that mental capacity or age can, even fathom, but here they are talking about it.
Right.
And I mean, how do you explain that?
Right. Right. Exactly. And it just real quick, completely off topic. I'm going to throw this out there, guys. Right now, we are in the middle of this solar magnetic flare up storm that's causing the aurora borealis to be seen everywhere in the world except for where I'm at in Northeast Ohio, because it's cloudy and rainy outside, so I don't get the good stuff.
It's the same here.
So, you have to forgive us if it cuts out, if it stalls, if it skips, because that's affecting all the satellites out there. It's affecting all the transmissions, all the computer networks. We're going to do the best we can to try and muddle through this. So please forgive us on that part. Anyway, back to the topic. Yes, you are absolutely right with that there are even, a lot of adults who encounter this. In fact, one adult you and I both know, Tanya Steinborn, from the Soul Seekers Paranormal Group out of Nova Scotia. She not only found who she was in a past life, she found where she was buried. She found where she used to live, and she bought the house that she used to live in a past life, if you can believe that. So you guys, if you want to hear a great story, go look for Soul Seekers Paranormal on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and check this story out because it is amazing.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I mean the thing with kids though, it's like it's like you said, and like we talked about, there's really no outside influence.
Mm-hmm.
When my son was relaying his particular recount of a past life, he had no concept of life and death at this time. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
about a kid that's between 2 and 3 years old, that really has no experience with life. We certainly never discussed anything like that around him, not even in passing. It was, you know, this is a kid that was into Ninja Turtles and monster trucks, and,
Yep.
that was his life right there. And puppy dogs, that was his whole life. Um, so he never had any recollection at all. And for him to just step up out of nowhere and say, yeah, my other mom and dad used to do this, used to eat this, used to go here, used to go there.
Yep.
It takes you totally off guard, and it just gives you chills. It is the most amazing thing and terrifying thing all at the same time. But in doing research on this, you find, and the funny thing about it, now here's the weird thing about this that I noticed. There's no jumping. And what I mean by jumping is there's I did not come across a single video of a that I believed in, because there's a lot of garbage out there you have to weed through.
Mm-hmm.
But the videos that you hear these kids they talk about their own ethnicity, their own background, their own highly possible past, not going from, this blue-eyed, blonde-haired kid that lives in Minnesota is now talking about being a Japanese samurai in a past life.
Yeah.
That's not what you hear. It's highly probable what the stories that they have.
Yeah.
The last one
Yeah.
I heard was this about this kid over in Japan who started talking to his mom and dad about his past life as a samurai. Now, they had never discussed samurai anything with his child. He was too young, yet he told them everything about being a samurai warrior. He told them about his wife. He told them about the kids that he had. He had 2 kids. Um, and just a complete recount of the samurai lifestyle, not ever having been exposed to that at all. That's the key right there, is these kids talk about stuff that they have never been exposed to.
Yeah.
Another story that I heard was a kid talking about being a pilot in World War II, a British pilot. He was in England. He lived in England. He was talking about being a British for the RAF, or the pilot for the RAF, in England, and told all about his exploits in World War II as a fighter pilot. And the funny thing was, they found him. They found the pilot he was talking about. He gave them a name. And they were able to go back and trace this pilot's name and found him. You know, that's when it gets really scary. When it gets really
Yeah.
freaky is when it can be documented and traced. How do they know it? How does this child know it? And the funny thing about this phenomenon that I also heard was that more often than not, by the time the children reach 9 years old, it's gone. The
Yeah.
memories have faded because now their brain has become too cluttered with life, Up until that time, they pretty much have an empty thing going on up there. Not a lot of, what is your cat doing, Audra? I see this
Big
foot fly up
wig.
in the air. but there's not a
It is
lot
an old
going.
family.
There's not a lot
Now they're
going
throwing
on.
things around. It's a mess. You know, I'm going to cut in here for a minute. Now, this is just from a parent's standpoint, when it comes down to your child, this child that you have raised and nurtured and all of that, this child that like the back of your hand, and they come out with something, it's like you don't even know who they are anymore. It's a new being with these memories. It's a completely different person, you know? We're falling. It's a completely different person. So, can you imagine? I mean, obviously you have been through it. So
Right.
the amount of, the level of sitting there and being like, who are you? And what have you done with my child is there. Like, I don't even know what is inhabiting my child's body right
Yeah.
now. So, I mean, I think that's really unnerving. But on another side of things, like you said, so most of them lose all of these past memories by the age of 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious as to what would happen if we harbored, those memories and really worked upon them and see what else these children could remember. What kind of insight would that give into history? What kind of insight would that give into, the the process of death even, you
Right.
know?
Right. But what my question with that is, where's that line?
Yeah.
Okay, where is that line where you push this child's capabilities, his intellect, his
Yeah.
thinking too far? Because they're a kid. This is innocence, and this stuff is just coming out freely. They're offering up this information absolutely free of charge. If you try to force that, what kind of damage are you going to do to this kid?
No, and
Is it
I mean,
something
that's
that's going to
true.
scar them?
That's
Or
the other side of things. It's, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're dealing with a very delicate mind when it comes to children. But at the same time, I'll throw this out here. When it comes to, you talk about pushing them and what kind of trauma would you inflict on a child? But what if they aren't thinking like that? I mean, if it is a 27, 28-year-old who passed away and these are the memories and the mindset that they have,
right.
what are you dealing with? I also look at stuff like that from a very scientific view where it's like, you know, what else could you learn from it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the if you look at the scientific aspect of this, okay, if you start really digging into the past, and my wife and I had a very lengthy conversation on this because my wife is very smart. Okay, she's extremely
Mhm.
smart. She has a degree in anthropology and a degree in sociology, so she's smart. Okay, so she's my go-to when I have questions about stuff like that. And the the thing that she brought up is, what if okay, in everyone's DNA, in the and I hope I pronounce this right, the mitochondrial DNA,
Okay.
you have traces of DNA that go all the way back to the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All of that is locked in your DNA.
Yep.
Somebody sent me a video the other day that says, okay, you got like 14 generations locked in your DNA. And she goes, oh, no, 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 no. Mitochondrial DNA goes to the beginning of time. I mean, it can be traced back that far.
Yep.
What if these are because this child's mind is so open and so empty at this time? What if this DNA is just going pew, 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 and shooting off these memories of not their past lives, but of their ancestors' past lives that are popping up in their heads all of a sudden?
Huh.
What if that is what's happening? It's a thought. I mean,
It is.
it's a possibility that
That's
that could be what's happening here. But
that's an interesting hypothesis, Hmm. I've never thought of that.
yeah,
But it's also like, which it very well could be. But I also wonder about the link. So, especially because this is a paranormal podcast, okay? Um,
for the most
children.
part.
Yes. Children are very susceptible to spirit activity. They are. You
True.
find more accounts of children being susceptible to seeing spirits. And I knew that was going to happen. So you see children being more susceptible to spirits or hearing things or anything of that nature. So why wouldn't it be the same when it comes to past life experiences or memories?
Right.
And I think it's because there is a sense of clarity when it comes to the young mind, that their minds aren't flooded
Right.
with all of the bullshit of the world and social norms and what to believe, and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just free thinking. So would it be, with what your wife was saying, would it be the same along the lines of being able to be cognitive to spiritual activity? You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting
Right.
at?
Yeah. Yeah. And you you look at the most vulnerable, the most susceptible to
Mm-hmm.
thought, um to possession, to uh if you want this is not only to talking about children, but talk about anything, okay? Any
Mm-hmm.
type of animal.
Yeah.
If you want
They
to
say
train
animals
them,
are susceptible to that kind of activity.
if you want to train them and you want to really teach them, when do you start? You start when they're young because their
Yeah.
minds aren't cluttered. They are open. They are willing to accept whatever you throw at them,
Yeah.
and you can get into a whole discussion on how you train your mind and how you can train a child's mind. So you stop and think about it, okay? If you got a kid that does not know his colors, has no idea what his colors are, and you
Mm-hmm.
start teaching him his colors, and you hold up a blue crayon and say, "This is green." He's being homeschooled. you homeschool your kids, okay? So this will you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And all they know is that you're teaching them that that crayon is that color. That's what
Mhm.
they're going to know that as that color. And then
Exactly.
when they hit other kids, then the other kids are going to say, "No, you're wrong," and there's going to be a big argument because they don't know any different. That's what they've been taught
Yep.
because they don't have the clutter. They don't have the outside influence. They don't
Hmm.
have, all of that. So I think that's why this is so fascinating because it coming into a vessel that's untouched and it's new and those thoughts are there.
Hmm.
The question is, where are these thoughts coming from? Are they actually coming from a past life? Or are they coming from a past life in their string of DNA? Now we're getting crazy.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the weird shit
Yeah.
because you've gone from possible paranormal to possible scientific, and that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
line to me has always been a big blur between
Yeah.
science and paranormal. It's
It,
always been a blur.
yeah. And it's really interesting because when you get down to the scientific aspect, now you're looking at genetic makeup,
Mm-hmm.
their their DNA, their lineage. What are they remembering from their lineage? Which that's a, I mean, paranormal is cool and all. Scientifically, I almost think that's cooler. You know what I mean? Scientifically, I
Right.
almost think that is a direct, almost like a direct photo book to your ancestry, which is, I don't know. I mean, I would love it. I would love to see what it was like back then.
Well, the thing is, to me, the only thing more terrifying than the paranormal is the scientific.
Mhm.
Things that can be scientifically proven can be terrifying. I mean, they
Yeah,
really can.
yeah.
It's like I read the other day. They found a ghost. Get this, they found a ghost in the CERN collider.
You know what?
In the CERN collider, they found a ghost. They found this thing in the CERN collider. They do not know what it is. They think
Huh.
it's made up from all the trash from the past collider experiments that they've been doing. And it's left all this debris in there. And this debris has kind of coagulated together to make this whole new something. They don't know what it is, but it's living inside the CERN collider now.
Huh.
So yeah, go look that up. It's like,
I'm
whoa,
yeah,
I'm not the CERN collider scares the shit out of me anyway. But that's one of the reasons why. But going back, yeah, it's I unless you have experienced this as a parent, um, you don't believe it. I mean, you won't believe it.
mhm.
But when your kid comes up to you out of the blue and says, "Oh yeah, I used to eat that for dinner with my other parents," you kind of go, "What? When did that
Yeah,
happen?" You know,
yeah.
and it becomes real at that point. And once you get past the cold chills and the the terror of your child telling you this, you start digging and you start questioning and you literally, I mean, that we would ask him questions and he would have answers. How did
Yeah.
this kid get answers?
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He wouldn't know. He's not even old enough to make stuff up like this.
Mhm.
He can make up, his own Ninja Turtle or Ninja Turtle scenarios, but
Yeah.
having another mom and dad and eating this and eating that, and this is the car we have, and this is where we go, and this is what we do. And they look
Yep.
like he gave us descriptions. I mean, we knew what they look like. It was terrifying. It really
Yeah.
was. It is so unsettling when you hear your kid talk like that. And I put out on social media, if there's anybody out there that's ever experienced this, please contact me because I want to know about it. And I did have a person contact me. And if you want to hear the story, because it's really amazing, it really is. I had to write it down because we talked about this for I bet 2 days. Um, and so I edited it all down, and you'll have to forgive me because I've got to read this because there's just so much here. Um, but this is from one of our TikTok followers um, on our Transcending Veil site. Her name is Sarah, and her son is named Dean. Now, Dean is autistic. Um, Yet he showed early signs of what she could only relate to as a possibly signs of having a past life. And this is her story. This was told to me by her, and this was. I didn't change any of the wording. I left it as true as possible. I just cut out a lot of the garbage small talk chit chat that you do when you talk back and forth to people. Anyway, here it
Yeah.
goes. She said. She wrote, "My son has autism. Before I get into this, I need to clarify. His father, now my ex, told me not to try to teach him any stuff like reading or writing, numbers, colors, etc. His reasoning was that he wanted my son, Dean, to be a kid as long as possible. I
Hmm.
reluctantly agreed. My son wasn't talking much yet. Most kids who are just learning at that stage don't anyway. She said I was in the kitchen washing dishes and my little boy was behind me in his walker. Okay, he's sitting in his walker behind her while she's doing dishes. And she hears him start counting. Um, she said I was pretty much dumbfounded and I turned around to see him pointing at the calendar. And she said I just listened and I let him finish. And he counted to 31, the exact number of days on the calendar. So then he stopped and simply gave me that winning smile of his and toddled off in his walker. So there's a lot more, the most interesting of which is when he discovered a hagstone on our walk along the banks of a canal. I believe she lives in England. She said that's a stone with a natural hole through it, which you likely already know. Anyway, I've looked for one my whole life and never been able to find one. I know its special properties. He held it up to his mouth and began whispering to this hagstone. Then he held it to his ear and he listened to the hagstone for an unusually long time. He handed it to me after he was finished and he said, "Listen, Ma, I never taught him anything about hagstones and I never taught him anything about this kind of thing." So, how did he know that, according to legend, you can see another realm through a hagstone? I know that's not exactly along the lines of what you're seeking here, but it is relevant in such that he knows things he cannot possibly know or has never learned.
Hmm.
Where does his knowledge come from, if not a previous incarnation? Dean sees and hears things people do not perceive. My stepfather passed away, yet my son would go into my mom's room, where the ashes of my stepdad were located, and seemingly interacted with him, laughing and giggling and jabbering. He was 8 years old at the time. I believe that he has the ability to be aware of the other side because he's never been told that ghosts and spirits aren't real and wouldn't accept that negativity anyway. Therefore, he does not have the skeptical block that others have. That's a key line right there. He doesn't have the skeptical block that others have.
Yeah.
When he was a toddler, he often was interacting with things we could not see.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that around him things would occur, such as mild poltergeist activity. People with autism have a heightened state of awareness anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people have neutral mental deficits. Excuse me. The majority of people have neutral mental defenses that block out up to 50% of their environment. With autism, there is a great deal more awareness than that. This is why those with the condition shut down with a huge amount of environmental input. So kids with autism, if you've noticed, when it gets loud and crazy, they just shut down.
Yeah.
They stop. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that it is a condition as well as his neutral ability that lead him to being able to perceive more than usual. As far as a possible past life is concerned, I truly believe that he was a gifted individual before he was this one. Somehow he carried knowledge from his previous incarnation into this life. And I just want to say thank you right now to Sarah and to Dean for sharing their story with us. That's amazing. You know, there it is. I mean, you get a child, and Dean is 18 years old now. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
FYI, he's a grown man. Um, although he isn't a grown man, but still, he doesn't have the mental blocks. She goes on to say that people are attracted to him for no reason. They want to be around him. They want to hang around him. They want to listen to whatever he says and see whatever he does. He just has this magnetism about him that makes him special, even for being an autistic person.
And I also want to, so as far as this story goes, I want to applaud Sarah for, you know, not influencing him with, you know, uh, the skeptic blocks as she spoke of, and allowing him to be, you know, uh, him just his true being with, you know, just being accepting of his true being. I think it is absolutely amazing, especially I have come into so many different situations, especially with kids who are on the autism spectrum, where people, for lack of better words, look down on them. They can't do this, they can't do that, blah, 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 blah. But their hyper intelligence opens doors that our minds couldn't even fathom,
Mhm.
just like a natural ability for him to be able to know things, see things, have an open door to another side. And I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And I think above all, children like that on the spectrum or anything of the sort, um, they really do have an ability to see things, hear things,
Right.
experience things that we will never be able to have the mental capacity to experience.
Right. Right. I absolutely believe that. You and I have talked about that on several occasions.
Yeah.
How when we were young, we experienced things that we no longer experience today.
Yeah.
With me, it was out of body travel. How
Yep.
I would
Astral
lay it
projection.
astral projection. How I would lay in my bed at night and I could feel myself leaving. I could feel myself floating up out of my bed, and it
Yep.
would scare me so bad that I would reach to grab for my bed and I could feel me slamming back into my body on the bed. It was not gently laying down on the bed. It was bam,
Yeah.
and it woke me up with such a start and such a fright
You wake up in
because I
like
didn't
a
know what it
jolt.
was. I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was, and I've often said I would give my right arm to be able to do that today.
Yeah.
But I've never been able to. I've tried to put myself in that. I've listened to binaural beats and, tried the meditation and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
either I'm too stupid or too stoned these days. I don't know,
All
one or
right.
the
So
other.
that's like when I was a child. So a big thing with me, especially in my craft, is the divination of dreams. Uh, certain things come to me in dreams. I cannot control them. But when I was younger, lucid dreaming was a big part of my nightly routine. Ask me to lucid dream now, and I could not control it to
Mhm.
save my fucking life. Okay. I don't have the ability to, you know, gain control over it like I did when I was a child. You know, it's different now. It comes to me in waves. It happens at random, but I can't. When I was a kid, I could very much say, "Hey, going to sleep. Gonna I got full grasp of this, and now I could say the same thing now and have no control."
Right.
So, I mean, I think there's an ability that fresh, young, you know, uninfluenced minds have. Just like with remembering, past lives, and I mean anything really.
Mhm.
I mean, let's look at let's look at just general things. How many of us remember what we did or what we learned in first grade? We
Right.
don't. The majority of us don't remember. We may have bits and pieces, but we're not fresh. You know
No.
what I mean? We're not fresh like we were back then. We lost a lot of what we learned as children, and what we knew as children. I could tell you bits and pieces of my childhood. I can't tell you everything. I don't remember.
No.
You know?
No.
We lost it.
No. No. And I'm
So,
I'm I'm 1,000 times older than you are. So imagine what it's like for me,
mhm.
trying to time travel back to when I was 5 years old, 6 years old. I can't do it. I have, like you
Yeah,
said, I have these flashes, these little bits
yeah,
and pieces. And honestly, being a service brat, we moved all the time. I never
yeah,
went to the same elementary school twice. So I'm not sure where all these puzzle pieces fit in all of that between kindergarten and sixth grade. I have no clue because they're all just a mash,
yeah.
because
And see,
there's so many different places and times and schools and areas, and I don't
yeah,
even know anymore,
but
and it's
see, growing up, it wasn't like that for me. I didn't move all over the place. I was stationary in one spot, one school. You know what I mean? And it's like, I remember being like 10, 11, and I could remember my first grade friends and teachers' last names. I can't remember nothing now. Don't
Right.
ask me the last names. I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you who my teacher was. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you what games we played. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's
Um,
just the clutter of a quote unquote normal life, a
yeah,
normal mind. I mean, and that's why I think so much of this, like I said, by the time these kids are 9 years old, all those recollections, all those memories are gone. I asked my son
yeah.
about it, and he goes, "Yeah, I kind of remember that, but I don't know. I don't really."
Mm-hmm.
So it's gone, and
Yeah,
it's sad in a way because now is when they're old enough to really be able to communicate that story
yeah.
on an educated level. They don't have any memory of it anymore. It's gone.
No,
And
no.
that's the sad part of it,
Mhm.
is because
And
it's
can you
lost.
imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine what it would be like if they didn't lose it? And as they grow, you could gain more insight on it. What kind of stuff could they tell you? It's, uh,
You would
but
have to
at the,
rewrite history books. I mean,
yeah. But
it,
at the
but
same time, it's like, are there, are they meant to remember after a certain age? You know what I mean? It's
uh,
like, mm,
another big mystery.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I don't
it's
know. I
like
can't
they
answer.
have all these vivid memories, okay, of a past life. Are they meant to do something with it? Or are they meant to, only be able to utilize it up until, say, age 9? Um, what is the purpose of it? It's,
Yeah, and
I don't know, a lot of questions.
I don't think it's so much specifically a particular age that
Mm-hmm.
they lose it at. It's just kind of like
Yeah,
around that time, 8, 9, 10 years old, they lose it because you start thinking about when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, what you're learning,
yeah.
what you're being force fed by schools and parents and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. You're starting to become somewhat responsible.
You
Now you've
start,
got chores to do. Now you've got things you have to
yeah.
take care of. You have responsibilities, and
I
all of this
also,
plays into your daily thinking of, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to get this done, I got to get that done, I got to get that
yeah.
done. Your mind
But
gets busy.
I also think, so if you think of 9 or 10, you know, that's when you start to lose your capability of make believe. I know at
True.
9 or 10, I was still playing with dolls, but not in the same fashion as I was, or playing, pretend, but not in the same fashion as I was at, say, 5, 6, 7.
Hmm.
You know, you're growing up, your
Right.
mind's maturing. I think the ability to lose, I think that ability to really, you know, use your imagination and tap into a whole different thing in your brain is now starting to dwindle, if that
Hmm.
makes any sense,
Right.
And I'm not saying that the past lives thing is make believe, but I'm saying the ability to tap into a completely different plane. I mean, because if you really think about it, compare it. When it comes to playing pretend, right? Say you're pretending you're fighting dragons and, whatever. In your mind, when you're a child under the age of 10, you really believe that that tree is a dragon.
Right.
You really, like, you
You could see
visualize it.
it.
You
Yeah.
tap into a whole new world. So I mean, it very well could be the reason why these children can no longer tap into these memories, because now they're losing that ability to go to a different place.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's completely reasonable, and I can absolutely see that. You're absolutely right. You know that
Mhm.
that at that time your mode of thinking starts changing, and
Mhm.
you start seeing the world differently,
Yeah.
and that fantasy world starts disappearing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, for
but
instance, for instance, when I was a kid, so the Spice Girls were a big thing when I was a kid, okay? We used to pretend we were the Spice Girls, and I was Sporty Spice. I was Sporty Spice. And you know something? My pool was the big, Thames River with the clock tower and the bridge, Big Ben, and we
oh
had the
yeah,
big bus, like, my fence was the big bus, and we lit, and I mean, my deck was the stage. Like, we thoroughly believed we were the Spice Girls.
well yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still a Spice Girl, but it's fine.
You know, and the thing that yeah, I don't even I'm so old I don't want to tell you what my was. It was
Dukes of
in black and
Hazzard,
white and in silent movies, and there was lots of subtitles.
Queen Nosferatu,
Shh.
Charlie Chaplin.
um, yeah, but yeah, it's ancient history now is what I'm considered.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
the thing I want to touch on, we talked about it prior to starting the show tonight, is not so much reincarnation. Okay. I don't want to get into reincarnation because there's a
Yep.
whole theological segment on reincarnation
Oh, yeah.
that I don't even want to touch. Okay.
Mhm.
I am not a true believer in reincarnation as defined as reincarnation is. But my belief system is a little bit different. And you've heard this before. And if you listen to the show before in the past shows, I've gone over this before. You
Mhm.
can agree with it, you can not agree with it. I don't care. That's up to you. You do you whatever you want to believe in. This is
Yep.
what I personally believe in. Okay. All your life you see a timeline, a straight line of birth and death, and this is your life in between. This is everything you do, da 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 da.
Yep.
Okay, the way that I see it is not a straight line, it's a circle. All right.
Yep.
This is your life on this point of this circle. You have the past over here, you have the present here, you have the future here. All three of these things are happening literally at the same time.
Yep.
All right. This is where you happen to be sitting. This is your reality. This is your time right now. Now, when you wear out this shell, this body, then that piece of you, that 1 ounce of you, that is your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, then jumps to another point in that circle of time. And you've heard that
Mhm.
phrase before, I'm sure, a circle of time. You jump
Yep.
to that other point in time, that other circle in time, and you start living there. You start habitating that particular point until that shell is wore out. Then you bounce to another period in time, and you just
Yep.
bounce endlessly within this circle of time, the circle of reality, the circle of you that you live in.
Mhm.
So you never really die. That doesn't happen. Death is a farce. It's a facade. It's non-existent. All you're doing is wearing out a shell, and what
Yeah.
you moves on to another plane, another point in that circle of time to continue living. What if that is what these kids are remembering? What if they're jumping from that one point to the other, and they remember doing it.
Yeah.
And we don't, because now we're too old, but those memories are faded, they're gone. But what if
Yeah.
they remember that where they were before they made that jump to where they are now? What if that's what they're remembering? What if that's what they're realizing and they're trying to tell us? They are actually trying to teach us that this is the way that things are. You don't die, you just move to another house.
Yeah.
Think
Huh.
about it, you know? You get tired of this house, or you done with this house, you move to another house. You move to
Yeah.
another space and time. You move to another existence. You move to another you. And there, for a short instance of time, for just a minuscule part of your life, you're actually able to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. That's just and
It
and
is.
that's really the way that I see this happening, is they're just carrying that little bit of memory with them across that expanse of time to where they're at now. And sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that, but I just killed myself on my earphones. Um, that is why it's so sad that they're not more highly educated. They're not more capable of communication than they are at 2 and 3 years old
Yeah.
to better explain what's going on. Because you know what? I'm thoroughly convinced they got the secret. They got the key. They know what it is. They know what's going on,
Yeah.
but they have no way of sharing it with us other than that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what my old mom and dad used to do. That's it, you know?
Huh. No, I never thought about it that way. But that is a really interesting theory, you know? And the fact that they are not, because they're so young, they're not capable of sharing their knowledge with us, we miss out, you
Right,
know?
right. You know, and that to me, that really kind of makes me sad. It really does,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the knowledge and the wisdom that they could carry with them and give to us to help advance us, to help carry us on in this
Yeah.
life to better ourselves.
Hmm.
And they don't have the skill set to communicate that to us at that time.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's another way to look at it. But
Yeah.
still, that's phenomena.
Phenomena. Do,
Here we go.
do, 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 do.
We
Yeah.
now that goddamn thing's gonna be stuck in my head all night.
Phenomena.
um,
Do, do, do. That's going to be our new theme song now.
oh no.
Phenomena. Do, 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 do. Phenomena.
But
Do, do,
now,
do, do.
we're still stuck at square one as to what is causes this thing to happen with these kids. Is
Yeah.
it truly a past life memory that they're remembering? Is it little sparks and shots and flashes of DNA
Yeah.
popping up because they have nothing in there to block these memories from ancestors that are just bubbling their way to the top? Um,
Hmm.
that no one knows. No, we have not been able. There's science has not been able to find an answer for what the hell is causing this.
Yeah.
So it's still fascinating. I would love to do another show on this.
Yes.
Anybody listening to this, anybody watching this, please, if you have any input on this, get a hold of us, because I would like to dig into this further. I would like to talk to more people. I would like to have you as a guest on my show. You know,
Yeah.
Audra would love to have you as a guest on her show to come in here and talk to us and tell us, your experiences with this. It's absolutely fascinating to me, and especially being the parent of a child. And I know, Audra, you said your daughter had an experience similar to this also.
Yeah.
That she conveyed to you not long ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely one of the most fascinating topics that I think I've ever come across, and I would like to dig into this deeper and more. Uh, but there's hopefully plenty of time to do that in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a couple of things that we are looking forward to. Do you have anything else you want to cover on this topic, Audra?
No, I think we are pretty good
Okay, awesome.
tonight.
Couple of things I want to cover real quick before we sign off for the night. Number one, it is not quote unquote a podcast, but it's kind of a little extra thing that we did. Alexis and I went on a ghost hunt to the Ohio Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio, here a couple of weeks ago. We did make a video of that. We actually got some really cool shit while we were there. So go check out the video on YouTube. Um, it's pretty cool. So go check that out. It's not a podcast by any means. We can only do it on YouTube. You can't do something like that and put it on audio. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a little extra show thing that we did. We have another one coming up, and I think Audra is real excited about this one in October.
Yes.
We are going to the Hinsdale House in New York, which is like super fucking serious shit. I mean, that's
Mhm.
the only way you can put it. This is demonic, dark entity,
Oh yeah.
good stuff.
Right up
So
Audra's alley.
yeah, so we're going there with the Soul Seekers Paranormal. They've invited us. I am so excited about this to go.
I'm coming
So
out with new friends.
so watch for that in the near future. We're going to be releasing that. Um, Also, we're gonna start trying new things this year. We're a couple years in now on this podcast. We've got probably a handful of listeners and followers, but we're still expanding. We're still growing, and we are still looking for new ways and new venues. So we're going to try something a little different in the near future. Not only are we going to be um, a recorded podcast on YouTube,
Mhm.
and an audio podcast on Spotify and Amazon and all the others, iHeartRadio, et cetera, et cetera. But we're also going to start doing live. So you're going to start seeing lives of this show as we're doing them on Facebook and whatever platform we can get on. So, guys, if you're going out and watching us on YouTube, we have got to get at least 1,000 followers on YouTube before they will let us go live on YouTube. So please go out and encourage others to go out, hit that follow button, hit that like button, subscribe to us so we can get 1,000 followers and we can go live on YouTube. We can go live on Facebook. We can go live on Instagram all at the same time. So you
Yeah.
will not only be able to catch our recorded shows, both audio and video, via social media, but you'll be able to watch it as it happens live. There'll be live chats. Um, Alexis will then be in charge of that. She's not here tonight. She's working on getting all that mess set up. We worked for an hour
Mhm.
before we even got on the air tonight, trying to get stuff set up for that. She is going to be in charge of the chat and your questions and answering your questions and getting them across to us. She's going to be the kind of the middle person in all of that, which is what she was hired to do to begin with. Um,
Mhm.
but so we're growing, we're expanding, we're reaching out. We are technologically stupid, so this is going to take us a little time to figure out. But we're
Yeah.
trying. We're trying, and we're getting there. And we need you guys to hang on and bear with us. Hopefully, things will start getting better and better for everybody all the way around. And there'll be
Yeah.
several different ways that you can see us, can contact us, and also be part of the show, which is what really is most important to us and what we actually set out to do in the first place. was to
Yeah, we love the guests.
have a show that you can be a part of.
Yeah.
So please spread the word. Please tell these people to come out, to join us, to subscribe to our channels, to listen to us, and get that viewership and that listenership up, because it only benefits the show. It only helps you, and then we can start doing more and more and more fun stuff, including you guys. We want to get you guys involved more and more in what we're doing, and we can't do that unless you're here. So you got to get here. It's spread the word. Share through all your social medias. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that when you guys do that. When you guys share your stories, like Sarah did, Sarah and Dean did, sharing their stories. It means the world to us, and we want to make you part of the show. And if your story, if you come to us with a killer story and you say, I got something to share, I got something to show, guess what? You're going on the air. You're going to be part of this show. We'll bring you on here. We will bring you into the studio, and we will make you a live part of this show.
Yes.
So, you have your chance. If you got a story to tell, then by all means, let us know. With that, that's all I got. Audra, what you got going on in your life? What's up? Anything else? Anything you can add to it?
No, I got a whole lot of nothing for tonight. I am looking forward to the Hinsdale house. I think that is going to be that's going to be a turning point in our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. And my wife has already told me, don't you be bringing anything home with you. So.
I intend.
You're going to have to get a U-Haul and just carry boxes of stuff home with you from there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
walking out of there with demons on a leash.
All right, guys, that's all we got for tonight. Thank you once again for tuning in. Like I said before, if you have anything that you can add to this story or any other story that we cover here, please contact us. We will be more than happy to talk to you, get back with you, and share your story with others. And please be a part of the show. We want you to. We invite you in. But with that, as Audra goes crazy on her end again.
Going crazy. Hot mess.
All right, guys. That's all we got for tonight. Hey, take care and love one another. And once again, guys, as always, keep it spooky.
Night, guys.
All right, guys, you know the deal. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, feel free to email us at transcendingveils@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow Transcending Veils on social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't be afraid to swing by D.E. Riley and myself's personal Instagrams at NotReallyWilly and at Audra Moon _. We got some spooky stuff going on there too. So until the next episode, can't wait to hear from you guys.